Drafting the Magic features the thoughts and opinions expressed by Christian Ilton, Eric Pesolano, and today's guest, and do not in any way reflect the views or opinions of the Walt Disney Company or any of its subsidiaries.
Coming off of last week, I really thought I had a W in the bag with the resorts, the hotel and resorts episode, and you took that one from me and got to within one. Eric Pesolano I'm really hoping we're not tied at the end of this, but holy smokes, we might be tied at the end of this.
Boy, I'm feeling pretty good. I've with no bias, but I got the judge in my corner, I hope.
Yeah, I know.
So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But going back to last week, I would say, and when we record these, we find out who the winner is very, very late in the episode, right?
Yeah.
I think for the first 40 or so minutes that we recorded before we found out who the winner was, I think it was maybe the most fun I've had on a single episode so far this season. Just talking about the resorts, and you've been out there more recently than I have, but I miss it every day. I can't wait to get back and just talking about all those different resorts. It really gets the juices flowing and makes you want to just book a vacation and leave tomorrow.
Yeah, that's it. Literally what I did, and went to Disney World. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but the best Disney conversations are when you lose track of time talking about it, right? It's just the genuine passion that we have about going over to the Contemporary and eating at Chef Mickey's, or going over to the Polynesian and seeing Lilo and Stitch at Ohana, or sitting beachside right out in front. There are so many different things you can do. And so we got lost in that. And that is, again, probably, like you said, why it was one of the most fun, if not the most fun experiences that we've had through this so far, is because that's what it was. We were just talking about what we love. We were still trying to sell it, right? We were still trying to get the W, but that was a fun one. And it was one that I thought I had in the bag until Tony said otherwise. So I'm just saying.
Which is funny because
I'm just saying deluxe resorts are deluxe resorts for a reason, okay? They're the best. And so I had 5 deluxe resorts. They were the best. There's no reason I should have lost that episode. I'm a little bitter coming into this one.
And I think it was the most fun, too, because what you just talked about, from that perspective, it could have gone either way. I felt like I had it in the bag the entire time, and there wasn't a moment I thought he was going to pick you. And, I mean, that's how it happened in the end, but you felt the exact opposite, which tells you that that's how much fun we had, and that's how good of an episode it was. So if you haven't gone back and listened to episode 11 yet, go ahead and hit that rewind and listen to our resorts episode. People like us, we almost have just as much fun planning a vacation out there than actually being in the vacation itself. So
yeah,
that was a great episode.
You really do. And I will say this, I did go to Riviera in the past week. The lobby, as my fiance reminded me, is not as small as I painted out to be. It was really nice. She goes, it's really not as small as you made it sound. I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. It is a little bit bigger, but anyway, Riviera is a beautiful resort. Whenever you get to visit it, you'll love it. So anyway, there's my side moment of correcting myself from the week before. And now this week, we're talking about something completely different. We are here on the West Coast exclusively, Eric, and we are thirsty.
Yes, we are. We're going to talk beverages of all kinds. Doesn't just have to be alcoholic. It can be non-alcoholic. It can be a shake. We put in a couple of rules that we'll talk about here in just a little bit. And, a category like this, you got to bring in someone real special to do it. And I am very, very excited to announce our guest judge and welcome our guest judge in for this episode. The wonderful and beautiful Katie Lowery is joining us here. Was that good enough? Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, hi, thanks. The fun has arrived.
Oh my gosh.
That's what I thought. I'm so glad you could join us here to do this.
Now,
we had to say this the last time when Sarah was on the show, that we need to make sure that you're going to be fair and unbiased throughout this entire episode. Can we count on you for that?
Oh yeah, no, if your picks are awful, I'm going to tell you. So
yeah, I pretty much figured that. Oh, this is going to be a fun time. And all the other shows that I've screwed up on, I guess this one I'm really going to have to be careful.
Yeah, well, I will
Yes.
say this. I can guarantee you all my picks are going to be awful. So I think I've already lost this. But you know what? I'm leaving that pessimism aside. I'm going to try to win this episode, even despite the fact that I really don't think I can do that, despite who the judge is.
My favorite part about you, Christian, is you and I with a similar personality of trying to nip a loss in the bud before it actually happens because we're so afraid to lose.
Being honest will help the hurt a little better.
Yes.
So
100% I agree with that.
But Eric, we are talking drinks today at the Disneyland Resort, and we have some good rules that you brought up. First off, obviously, we have to have, we have to have experienced or tasted the drink. But for our special rule for the day, there's a big rule here.
Yeah, we have one big one. I was talking to Katie about it before we started recording this. She hates it, but oh well, we run the show, so this is how we do things.
Yep.
No seasonal beverages and no festival beverages. So it's got to be something that's there year round, not something that just shows up in the wintertime or whatnot. I know you don't like it, Katie. Explain why you don't think we should go with that.
Because I think there are a lot of really good options seasonally. I think that like the festival, I don't know what it's actually called, but like the spiked eggnog is A+. That should absolutely be an option, even though it hurts your face a little bit. But whatever, do you? It's your show.
This is already
right out of the gate. That's what I figured would happen.
You know, I will say though, Eric, she makes a good point. There are a lot of options. That could be another show maybe one day.
That was my thought, and that was kind of how I pitched it to her, saying, "Hey, look, we got to stretch this out as far as we can. I know we're only on episode 12, but still, we'd like for there to be even more."
Yeah. Speaking of stretching this out as long as we can, I'm gonna have to stretch out my descriptions of these to even make them count. Because again, I'm not very confident, folks. But here we go. We are starting the Drafting the Magic Drinks at the Disneyland Resort episode with my number one pick. And I will go into this saying that the rule is that we have to have experienced it or tasted it. We do not have to have liked it, because I absolutely hate mint, but a mint julep has to be at the top of the list. It's something that's very famous. If you go to Disneyland, you got to go back to New Orleans Square, and you've got to get a mint julep, and it is an iconic drink. So I'm going mint julep with my first pick. Again, I'm not saying I like the drink, but I've had it, and it counts.
That is true. I'm surprised that you don't like it, although there's a lot of stuff you don't like that I'm shocked that you don't like. But I think this might be the first time you actually pick something you don't necessarily love. But you know what? You had to make a necessary pick. And Katie, what do you think about mint julep going off the board at number one?
So you remember how I was like, you guys are probably going to pick something that I don't like, and I'm going to be real unpopular for it?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I don't like mint juleps.
Neither do I.
So we're
I just
on the same
figured you
page.
might. Shoot.
So you might get a bonus point just for that.
Oh,
but
geez.
yeah, it's interesting. I love the area. So that's the thing that, I love New Orleans. That's my favorite part of the park. And everyone always goes there. And I'm like, yeah, I'll get a beignet. Not even the best beignet, but I'll get that beignet, whatever. But I won't get
I literally handicap myself. I was like, you know what?
You're good.
I was like, you know what?
We'll see.
I don't like this drink, but the guest judge probably does. And I always tell myself, don't play to the guest judge. Be honest with yourself. And boy, did I go against that, and it completely nipped me in the butt right now. And so it's fine. Here we are. Eric, go ahead. Start winning with your number one pick.
You know what's funny is you did, again, this is why we get along. We have the same personality, because I've done that several times in the past, and every single time it's bit me. So at least you know what that's like right out of the gate. All right. My number one, I had to get it off the board early because I was afraid you were going to take it. But then I remembered you don't really like this either because you've never had it. And we've talked about this in previous episodes, but I still got to put it at number one because it's my absolute favorite. It is a Dole Whip float, but not just any Dole Whip float. The one you can get at the coffee house at the Disneyland Hotel because they put a little something special in it. That's right. You can get it with a splash of rum in there. So I'm taking the Dole Whip float with rum as my number one beverage at the Disneyland Resort.
There you go. And you know what? That's the That's always that nice little added. If you know the secret of going over to the Disneyland Hotel and getting the spiked one, it seems to be everyone's favorite. Katie, what do you think of that pick?
So there was also a separate conversation where I said, if nobody picks a beverage, you're both fired. That was absolutely it because it's my favorite thing. That doesn't mean that Eric's going to win, but that's absolutely my favorite thing in the whole resort.
Well, and to recap, we go back. I believe Sarah's favorite ride is Splash Mountain, and I picked it, and I still lost. So yes,
That's
that
true,
is a very
yeah.
valid point.
Good memory there. Yeah. That's. But again, she gave you some kind of hard times for not picking it first, right? She gave you hard times for leaving it last. You picked her favorite thing first. I am not thrilled about this, but it's fine. Again, it's a very popular drink. Everybody always loves it and talks about it. So I'm surprised you didn't save it to last because you knew I hadn't had it yet. But here we are. And what happened to the old strategy there, Pesolano?
Right.
The old strategy was exactly what you just said. I waited so long to pick it for Sarah that this time I wasn't going to screw that up, so I'm going to take it early.
See, there you go. All right. Well, you're learning from past mistakes, I guess, and that will unceremoniously push us into the second round. And with the second round, there is a number of different ways I could go with this, but I am a fan of a good old-fashioned margarita. And if you go over to Tortilla Joe's, the Joe's Super Gold Margarita is up there with probably some of my favorite margaritas I've ever had. And so I've got to go to Tortilla Joe's. I went with them at the Downtown Disney episode, and I got to go with them with the drinks. Joe's Super Gold Margarita is my number 2 pick.
This is an interesting pick on your behalf, but your first 2 picks were actually on my backup list, and now I don't have them anymore. So if you take anything else from my backup list, I'm gonna have to hope that I can get my top 5. But I'll throw it over to Katie. The margarita, I love that margarita at Tortilla Joe's, and please tell Christian that you've had it, so at least he has something to feel good about.
I have had it. Everyone knows that I'm not a huge fan of Tortilla Joe's, but their drinks are pretty good. Yeah, the margarita is pretty good. I'll give you that one so far.
I will say that every time I go there, it's probably the first thing I order every time I sit down. They have an amazing margarita over at Tortilla Joe's, and I'm really stunned he took it now. I wasn't even sure that was going to be on your list. So well done, partner.
I'm trying to stun you. I'm trying to shake things up. I do have a number of different options. I told you though, I really don't feel confident about this, so I had to go margarita as a high pick because, I mean, tequila's a good thing. So
I think we can all agree on that. All right, let's go to my number 2 pick, and I'm glad it's still on the board. My top 2 picks, I'm going to get them both. Let's go off to a galaxy far, far away, shall we? And let's have your mouth feel a little weird. I'm taking the Fuzzy Tauntaun from Oga's Cantina. It is the strangest thing strangest beverage I've ever had in my life. It had a little bit of a citrus punch in there for you, but really the mouthfeel, which is not one of my most favorite words to use to describe drinks, but I don't know what it does to your face, but it makes it numb and it tingles, and I love the feeling. I'd go back and drink it over and over again. I'm taking Fuzzy Tauntaun at number 2.
We talked about that with Brady on one of our first shows about the Fuzzy Tauntaun and it being such a popular drink. It's the weirdest thing in the world, but that's exactly what you expect when you go to a galaxy far, far away. It's got to be one of the most popular drinks at both the Walt Disney World Resort and the Disneyland Resort at this point. So that's a good one. I'm not the huge big fruit fan, so I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite, but it's a good pick at your number 2.
So yeah, I actually really liked Fuzzy Tauntaun. It's not my favorite. I think the experience is very, very different, as he said. That one's good though. It's got the peach vodka, the peach schnapps, the orange juice, all that. Like, I'm not a super fan of fruity, but that one's good. I think it's more the experience though.
Absolutely disgusting.
Yep, and that was one of the big reasons why I took it. Aside from it making your face feel, I don't even know. I can't even describe it. You're gonna have to go try it for yourself once the park opens back up here in California. But of course, you can get it down in Florida right now. All right, Christian, let's go on to number 3.
First off, yuck. Secondly, okay. I am going to go with one, and I am going to get thrown under a bus for this one, but I will ride and die with this drink. You can get it in multiple places. I know what you're doing.
Go ahead.
You?
If it's Starbucks, you're done.
I think so. I've already typed it on my phone. Let's see if I got it right.
If it's Starbucks, I'm done.
Gosh. Listen, I love getting me a good beer. And this is a beer that you don't just get at the Disneyland Resort. You can get it anywhere in Southern California. But there is also an attraction called Red Car Trolley, as it were. And the Red Trolley Ale has got to be on my list. I'm assuming Eric guessed this. It's my favorite beer I've ever had. And it is just a icing on the cake, the fact that it's actually sold in Disney California Adventure, also in some locations in downtown Disney. So Red Trolley Ale is my number 3 pick. Go ahead, talk trash on me. I don't care. It's my favorite.
I'm not going to talk trash on you because I love me a Red Trolley. What I'm going to say is that was the most predictable thing you've done in all 12 episodes so far. And I showed you I'm hoping this is the last show we have to do over Zoom, you and I at least. We're usually in the same room, socially distanced, but I was feeling under the weather this week, not COVID related. Don't worry, it's my normal cold. But I showed you my phone over Zoom, and I had already typed Red Trolley in there because I knew you were going to do it. I didn't know where. I thought you might hold out another round or two, but I knew it was going. You got a Red Trolley thing hanging on your wall in your bedroom, for crying out loud. I've seen it.
I do.
I love it. You know what? You're staying true to yourself, and that's the most important thing.
And it's a great beer, and there's great beer in Southern California. I think you see that over at Oga's Cantina. For a lot of people that don't know, the beer that is sold at Oga's Cantina is actually made by Ballast Point. Ballast Point obviously has that location in downtown Disney. Craft beer is a part of California, and it fits perfectly in California Adventure. Of course, they have the red car trolleys, so it really does make sense there, but you can get one over at Award Wieners. You can go back to the cart in the back of Pacific Wharf, number of other places. I love me my Red Trolley Ale. Katie, go ahead. Let's hear what you think about this pick.
I would not have picked that beer if I was going to pick a beer.
It's
but
okay.
I'm also
No
not
one's
a
perfect.
huge
Don't
beer
worry.
drinker. We go to breweries here and there, but I've got like my specific ones that I don't think I've tried that one, to be completely honest with you.
Oh my gosh.
But I will now. That helps. You've sold it.
Unbelievable.
Oh,
I know.
Unbelievable.
I have to give a shout out to one of my good friends, Matt, who every time we go to Disney California Adventure, he goes back to that cart that's there by the back entrance of Cars Land there in Ornament Valley, and he double fists, and a lot of the time he gets himself a Red Trolley. So he knows I love a Red Trolley too. So Katie, apparently we're gonna have to go try that. I didn't know you hadn't had that actually.
No, I don't think so. I don't think I've tried that one. No.
Well, as always, I am behind the 8 ball, and that's great. We're halfway through our draft.
As always, you're behind the 8 ball. As always. Anyway, I said what I said. We are officially halfway because we are in the middle of the 3rd round. So, Mr. Pesolano, your 3rd round pick. All right, I'm going back to aesthetic because, that's what Disney's about. Got to make things look good when you serve it on the table. Let's go over to Lamplight Lounge in Disney California Adventure. I'm going to go with the sequel. And this is the one that you may have seen in all the advertisements around. It's another citrusy, fruity drink, which I love them a lot for the construction. It's the bubbly one, right? That you see in all the advertisements. I think I was with you the first time I tried the sequel, if I'm not mistaken. But I love the fact that it takes so much construction, and really it talks to the dedication of the cast members who are tending the bar over at Lamplight Lounge. They've got to have the dry ice machine and the blender and everything. There's a special machine they use to make the drink bubble the way it does throughout most of the drinking experience. Eventually it's going to fade out. That's just science. But it takes them a minute to put it together. And I always, this is just a disclaimer for everybody out there listening to this. The next time, whenever Lamplight opens again and you get the sequel, tip your bartender an extra $1 or $2 for them having to construct this whole thing together, because it is a work of art. I do love the sequel. It's my pick at number 3.
It's a good pick. All of those drinks over there at Lamplight. Of course, you remember the old Cove Bar. You remember the what was it? I think they called it the Color Wheel or the Fun Wheel or something like that.
Fun Wheel.
The Fun Wheel. The Black Pearl. There were a bunch of different secret menu items. Cove Bar is Cove Bar and now Lamplight Lounge, very iconic as it became more popular. Instagram really took that thing for a ride, and they saw alcohol sales through the roof. There was always a line for Cove Bar. There is always a I guess a line or a tough reservation system for Lamplight. That's a good one. Katie, what do you think of Eric's number 3 pick?
So anything with vodka in it is a plus for me. This one, I don't love it. I'm not gonna lie. It's not my favorite out of all the things you can get at Lamplight, but I will agree that the aesthetic, like the construction of it, I think it's great. But it wouldn't be my first pick. It wouldn't be the first thing I would recommend to someone, that I will say. But yeah, no, I agree with the construction and all that. I think it's a cool drink.
Oh, great. So Christian caught up to the 8 ball then.
Yep.
Well, I'll tell you, that's my thought. I was like, oh man, I might actually have a chance at this. So you were talking about construction, right? When it comes to a drink, my 4th round pick is something that you could put a piece of cake on top of a shake anywhere, but at Black Tap, it seems to be just a little bit more perfect no matter what. The cake shake at Black Tap is my number 4 pick. We talked about it on the show when we were doing Downtown Disney. Both of us picked Black Tap, right? You picked the shake bar or the window. I picked the restaurant because of the amazing chaos that they designed there. So the cake shake is my number 4 pick.
Hey, you ever heard me get yelled at on a podcast before? Get ready for this one. Katie, go ahead and let them know.
Okay, so fun story. We went to the cast member preview for that, and he orders all of our food. We sit down, and they bring this shake, and it's just a regular Oreo shake. And I'm like, what is this? He's like, oh, I got us a shake. And I'm like, yeah, where's the piece of cake and all this other stuff that's supposed to be on it? He ordered the thing. We could just get it Jack in the Box down the street, but that's fine. I was like, are you kidding me? And he's like, no, it's a crazy shake. And I was like, no, those are 2 different menus. And we've been in like 5 different arguments since then that they have regular shakes and then the crazy shake menu, but that's fine. So I would not know how great that is because Eric dropped the ball. So that's fine. I think that's
I feel like this was just sabotage
in general, though, and you might automatically get that part. So
that was sabotage. He knew 8 months ago, 12 months ago, whenever it was, he knew that this was all going to happen and that I wouldn't be able to get a good selection because he knew you wouldn't. I'm not happy. Okay, it's fine.
I mean, honestly, you might win just because I didn't get to try it because of him. Okay. So, you know, we'll talk about it.
Or finally, my stupidity has paid off. One of the 2.
But it's a great shake. So if you haven't had it, get over there, try it. I mean, there's millions of different ones that they have there. I feel like they do have seasonal shakes that come in and out. I remember they had a pumpkin one. I'm sure they would have done a holiday one this year if they I don't know if they might still. Downtown Disney's open, but it's worth it. It's worth the look. All right, your 4th round.
I will have to believe you.
All right, here we go for my number 4. This is my new. I knew I was going to be able to get it late. This is my new favorite beverage at the entire resort. Christian, you know me. This is not going to shock you. This is something that I don't think you like, or to be more specific, you only like half of it. I'm taking the frozen Jack and Coke at Smoke Jumper's Grill. Ever since they started selling this thing, I think I've had it a couple times. Look, I'm a Jack and Coke guy. I'm not gonna hide behind that curtain. I know, Christian, you're not a big fan of having the Coke with it, but the frozen Jack and Coke is my favorite beverage at the entire Disneyland Resort, and I can't wait to get it again. I hope it's available when they open back up here in about a week and a half or so. I might just have to go grab one.
Look, I am not a huge Coca-Cola fan. I really don't like soda for the most part, but I'm very good friends with Jack, so I know him very well. But you're right. I have not even tried it. I literally will not go near anything that has soda in it. It's not my thing. So unless it's Sprite, I like Sprite, but that's basically the most plain soda you could have. So I feel like it doesn't even count. So I really don't know much about this. I know Jack though. I know him. Katie, what do you know about this drink?
Okay, so as much as I hate to say it, I don't like Jack and Coke, but this was delicious. We went and got it as soon as he found out that it was out. And I took a sip expecting it to be terrible because I just don't like Jack and Coke. I don't like Coke at all. And it was so good. I was like, what? How? Like, how does just blending it change it? I don't know. But yeah, that's a good pick. And now I'm conflicted. Dang it.
I just
don't
need
know
to
what
keep it
there's.
close.
I don't know what there is to be conflicted about. My list has been pretty bad so far. Anyway,
Yeah, but you got the cake shake and I haven't because of
right.
Erik. So continue.
You're right. You're right. Yeah, it's a good pick. From what I know, Jack and Coke is probably one of the most popular drinks in the world, and the concept of freezing it and making it into something a little bit better for a hot day, it's probably gold. So congrats to you on that one. And yes, you knew you could take that one late because you knew I wouldn't pick it because you knew I hadn't had it, basically. Or at least you could you could take your money to the bank that I hadn't had it. So that
the next time we go there, though, you need just try it. Just if I have to get it, and you take a sip out of it. I'll pour it into a different cup because germs. But but you got to try it. At least give it a go. I think you'll enjoy it.
Respectfully, no.
Yeah.
I won't,
I thought you were gonna say
won't touch it. So that brings me to my fifth pick. And this one I'm having trouble with. There is something Katie said earlier that makes me not want to take one of these options. I also have, so I basically, I have I'll let everybody know, I have 2 beers and I have a shake on my list that are left. And so I'm trying to calm down. I'm trying to, Katie said she's not really a beer person, but she also trashed the shake I was thinking about taking, kind of. But I'm going to go with the shake because I think it's a really cool thing for the land that it is in. If you go over to Flo's V8 Cafe in Carsland, you can get Flo's Classic Shake, and they put in gravel as you're on the road, and so you're going to have gravel in your shake. It's Oreos. Yes, you can get it anywhere, but I think it's a great shake. I think it's probably a better option than the other 2 options on my list anyway, despite Katie not being a beer person. We can talk about my other 2 options at the end of this, but I am going with Flo's Classic Shake vanilla ice cream. I don't touch that chocolate ice cream or that strawberry. Get that out of here. Vanilla ice cream with the Oreo crumbles as the gravel as my 5th pick.
That last thing that you just said has redeemed your taste in all food for me. I am not a chocolate or strawberry ice cream guy.
It's disgusting.
Vanilla all the way.
Both of you are wrong, but that's fine. However, the shake is really good, and I think that just honestly, y'all could have just picked stuff straight out of Cars Land for the whole thing, and I would have been like, this is perfect because I love Cars Land. But no, I think that's a really, really good shake, and it's probably better than the regular Oreo Black Tap. But no, I think that's a good pick. So we'll see what Erik has now.
I'm feeling a little bit better after that. And the thing is, it is on the list of like drinks that you should go try. That's how I figured out about it. Was I saw a list of drinks you should go try at Disney, and oh my god, it's a great shake. So anyway,
yeah, it is. It's really good.
I've never had it, but clearly I want it now because I'm an Oreo shake guy.
Yep.
Also. Katie, thank you for the heads up. I'm going to change my last pick to a Cars Land pick. No, I'm not going to do that. That's unfair.
Cheating.
That'd be unfair. Nope, I'm sticking to my list. I'm very happy that I'm getting all 5 of the picks that I initially put on my list. And for this one, if I'm telling somebody that's going to Disneyland for the first time, you have to try this. It's the one thing that kids who grew up in the 80s, 70s, and 80s always wanted to try. Christian hates it. I love it. You have got to go see what blue milk is like. I'm going back to Galaxy's Edge. 2 picks from Galaxy's Edge. Give me the blue milk for my 5th and final pick. You got to try it. And, Christian may not like it, but he tried it. And the point is, you have to go try it out if you've never been there before. Give me blue milk at number 5.
It's not good. It's not good. Everybody loves it, right? Again, I don't like the fruit kind of taste, and it does have that fruity taste to it. It's not my thing. I also had it inside Oga's Cantina, which is completely different than the one outside of Oga's Cantina. The one in Oga's Cantina is like spoiled milk in its consistency. So go try that if you're curious. But it is one of the most popular drinks in the world right now. So I'll give you that. I almost took it. I thought about it, but my first round pick of going, I'm going to try to play to the judge's hand and then totally get screwed over. Nope, I wasn't doing it. I left blue milk off my list, but you put it on yours. Katie, what do you think of blue milk?
Okay, well, you were smart for leaving it off, because even though we've had it a couple times and it's like, it's okay, it's not my favorite. It's not okay for the experience, for the land. Like you have to have it. You have to tell people, when they go, you have to try the blue milk. You have to try the green milk. Actually, you probably don't have to try the green milk. Don't even do that. But the blue milk, yes, you have to say yes, try it. I still am not a huge fan, though. It's okay. It's okay. But the land and walking around the blue milk, it's all part of the game, and it's fun, and you're like, I'm in Star Wars. So, all right, I'll recommend it, but I wouldn't be on my list.
I'm kind of happy that it was not one of your favorites, Katie. That gives me a little bit more hope coming towards the end of this. But again, there is something iconic about blue milk. Like Eric said, kids that grew up in the 80s and, were like, oh, that looks disgusting, but I kind of want to try it. Like, that was a thing that all of a sudden was able to be realized when Star Wars Galaxy's Edge opened up. It probably tastes nothing like it would have in the movies. My thought, but Disney has made it a classic for the Instagram world and all the people trying to live out their fantasy of being in a Star Wars story. So congrats on that pick, Eric. And Eric, that's our draft.
There you go. All right. So now we have to ask the question to Katie. Out of everything we picked, I'm sure that there's some things that you've chosen that we didn't. So what would be on your list that we did not pick?
Yeah, I'm very disappointed in you guys. So
and it begins.
the Trader Sam's Aowa absolutely should have been on someone's list. Like, that's the one where they have the cinnamon on top and they light it on fire in like the fishbowl cup thing. No, nobody's had that. No?
I've never had it, and I knew you were going to bring it up. I knew you were going to bring it up, and I was hoping to avoid it. But I've seen many people try it, and I've seen the spectacle that goes along with it. Never had it myself.
I've only had one drink at Trader Sam's, and it was a nightmare. So, and it's not because the drink was. I take that back. I might have had 2. I don't know. I just remember having the tiki rum, and it completely ruining my night. So that's all I remember about that, folks. If you're looking for something hard and strong, head over to the tiki rum at Trader Sam's. Anyway, go ahead. What else is on your list?
I appreciate your commitment to saying the title of that beverage.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm impressed.
Come on now.
Yeah, so that should have absolutely been on the list. That's the one where they're like, oh, you have people to share? And I'm like, yeah, I don't need that. So next would be probably, see, this is hard. Okay, I'll go with the one that's like current still. The martini, the vodka martini from Carthay, the lounge restaurant, whichever, is so good. I cannot handle it. And I can't wait for Carthay to open so we can go just so I can have that with some like duck wings. I'm ready for it. Because that's probably the best martini I've had anywhere ever.
The biggest breaking news of all time. I don't think either one of us terribly strikes you as a martini guy. But anyway, go ahead and get on with your list.
Yeah, I'll get the martini. You can get the Jack and Coke. It's fine. I would also have picked, and I don't know if this counts, but the strawberry banana sensation from Schmoozie's. I think that's something that I recommend to people if they're trying to get a variety of things. It's just very refreshing.
I had the Make Mine Mocha as one of my my other backup pick,
That's-
but I didn't need it.
Yeah, see, that's what we get when we go. He gets that, I get the strawberry thing, and we go over to Animation Academy and sit there and listen to all the music when there's too many people around. And then the Mickey's Fun Wheel. So that we kind of touched on it, and a lot of people don't realize that you can still get that and the drinks from the secret menu for Cove Bar at Lamplight, and you absolutely can. And if you get the Mickey's Fun Wheel, definitely add the raspberry vodka to it, because again, vodka, it makes it so much better. So definitely would have put that on my list. And then my last one would have been the Neverland tea from the secret menu from Cove Bar.
So they didn't rename the Mickey's Fun Wheel to Pixar Pal Around? Is that the new name of the drink, or is it still
I
the Fun
don't
Wheel?
want to talk about it. No.
Sounded
We're
like
not-
a backhanded
we
comment
are
right there.
Not talking about that because I am triggered.
Oh my
Also, I had no
gosh.
idea that Katie was a mixologist.
Yeah,
You gotta go.
apparently.
Basically.
Adding things to drinks? My goodness.
I mean, it's pretty easy when you go in and say, "Hey, what can I add vodka to make it better?" Like it's, they
That
figured
list
out pretty
is-
quickly.
That list is very long, by the way. All right. Well, those are Katie's thoughts on what we should have put on our list, but we did not. We both had good lists. Eric, do you want to run them down?
Let's do it. Let's recap what we've done. We'll start with my list as we always do. The Dole Whip float with rum at the Coffee House, Disneyland Hotel. The Fuzzy Tauntaun from Oga's Cantina at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. The sequel from Lamplight Lounge in DCA. Frozen Jack and Coke from Smoke Jumpers Grill, also in Disney California Adventure. And the Blue Milk from the Milk Stand at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And for Christian, his 5, the Mint Julep that you can get from the Mint Julep Bar in New Orleans Square. Margarita over there at Tortilla Joe's in downtown Disney. The good old-fashioned red trolley from multiple locations in Disney California Adventure. The Crazy Shake, the Cake Shake from Black Tap Burgers and Shakes, and Flo's Classic Shake from Flo's V8 Cafe in Cars Land. And with those, Katie, who wins today's episode of Drafting the Magic?
This is hard because you each had good picks and then picks that I just don't care about. So I think though, looking over the list, I think Eric's gonna have to take this one. Only because I think the thing that lost it for you, Christian, was the beer and the stupid shake that I've never had. So at least I can say that I've had the Jack and Coke. But you can also blame Eric for that as well.
If
but
Red,
yeah,
if
overall-
Red Trolley is the reason I lost, I will happily lose. That is one of my favorites. I will take that to my grave.
Well,
I
I
like
do
to-
apologize, but I think it's Eric.
Oh.
Okay, well, I'm back on a winning streak. Thank you for that.
Yeah, whatever.
And Christian, we are now 12 episodes in, and we have solved absolutely nothing.
It's back to knot it up, and boy, is this the beginning of another 222 thing? Who knows? Or is it more than that? We'll figure it out. But congratulations on your win, sir. Again, I am not happy about this outcome, but again, I will stand by my red trolley every day of the week. So I will.
Look, I love you, Red Trolley, but I know one thing's for certain. I got to take you around the parks in downtown Disney a little bit more so we can add to your list of eligible beverages.
I agree. I literally have 3 other things on this list. Like, I'm sure I've had a couple other beers, but like none that I remember the name of, besides maybe the Anaheim Hef I got that over at Sonoma Terrace. That's a really good one. I've had Carl Strauss's Hef. Here's me talking about all the beers I've drank. But I wouldn't substitute any beer in the park over the Red Trolley, or in the resort over the Red Trolley. So that is why it had to be on my list. Come on, it's Christian. He had to take a beer.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
know
but
what?
you should have taken the orange wheat. I'm just saying. Go ahead.
Why would I take an awful beer?
Oh, wow.
Moving on.
Wow. Why would you take something the judge hadn't tried? I don't know.
Okay, well, it's become clear that I'm glad we're doing this over Zoom. That's for sure.
Oh my gosh.
That plexiglass isn't just for safety, for helping to stop the spread of a virus. We need to be a physical barrier. Anyway, well, Katie, thank you so much for joining us here. We really appreciate it. Obviously, I'm sure I will see you soon. Thank you for taking the time out, and for more importantly, getting me back to even with this guy. We can start zero, which is good for everyone out there who's listening, because that just means they got to keep tuning in to see who's going to take the lead next.
I guess so. I'm not happy about it, but I guess so.
I am not happy about it either, if it makes you feel any better. So,
you know what? It doesn't. It doesn't make me feel any better, but I'll take it anyway. Eric, I'm just saying this. We have both had the ladies in our life on this show, and while most people would predict it to go the way it did, I don't think either of them did that just because they are our significant other, but it has still come out the way everybody thought it would anyway.
You know, we figured it was going to be even after it. I thought they were going to pick against us both times, and it was the opposite. But I think you and I both know that they were going to play it fair and balanced. And hey, you know, Sarah took notes, Katie took notes. This wasn't I'm just going to pick them at the end anyway. No, they know what they're talking about. And first of all, I think that's the bigger thing. We don't just have them on because they're our better halves. We have them on because they know what they're talking about, and they're able to give good information to people who may have not been to the resorts before. So again, Katie, thank you so much for taking the time, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
See you, Katie. We'll talk to you soon.
Oh, she came through for me. That was harrowing, though. I mean, I think I may have upset her more in the process, but at least I got that dub.
Quite possibly. But yes, congratulations. You got the dub. A lot of things that could have gone through here. I'm curious to hear what your honorable mentions might be. You said that both Mint Julep and Joe's Super Gold Margarita were on your list. Were there any others that might have been on your list that had I taken something else you would have been able to go to?
You know, what's real funny is when I was talking to Katie about this the other day, and I had the Black Pearl on my list originally.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably my second favorite beverage ever. I did not know that you could still get it at Lamplight Lounge. So I left it off. And then she told me, oh, no, you can get it. And then I went, well, I already wrote my list and I don't want to ruin the integrity of this show. So I left it off and I didn't pick it. But
that's fair.
That is the Black Pearl to me is definitely a great summertime. It's basically a Long Island iced tea. Who are we kidding? But it's a great summertime drink. It was actually the first alcoholic beverage I ever had at Cove Bar, so there's a little nostalgia there for me also. But the Black Pearl is probably my biggest honorable mention.
Okay, my honorable mentions, both themed beers in a way. One of them, the name is not themed, but it works for the land it is in. It's only sold in Cars Land, and it's Racer 5. I think that Racer 5 is a great beer, and it really does... It's a cool fit for being right down the street from Radiator Springs Racers. So kudos to the guys up north that make that beer. The Racer 5's on my list, and also the Gomorian Ale over at Oga's Cantina was also on my list. That's actually made by New Belgium, or New Belgian, not the Ballast Point that I thought it was. I did some research here. But that's a good beer as well. It's a really good one. So, again, I'm not really a drinks guy. I didn't come into this one expecting to win. And as soon as you said we were going to do a drinks episode, I was like, cool, there's another loss coming my way. And then you were like, hey, Katie's going to be the judge. I'm like, cool, still another loss coming my way. And here we are. So now I get to bask in defeat.
This was your parades episode. Like for me.
Yes. Quite literally. Quite literally.
You know what else is a great one that I didn't mention, and it was made for a very limited time. I'm not even sure they sell it anymore. They only sold it at the Disneyland Resort. It was a champagne called Magical. They made it specifically for the Disneyland Resort, and the only place you could get it was at ESPN Zone when it was open.
Oh, wow.
And it was pretty good, and we had it over there for a while before eventually, it ran out, and they were like, oh, limited time only. Too bad. That was pretty good. But not available anymore, so could not be selected today.
Yeah, well, it is a Drinks are another one of those things that I think you lose when you think about going to Disney. You know, AJ told us back on the Downtown Disney Foods locations episode that, you know, the reason she started the Disney Food blog was because you really didn't see people forming their vacations around anything besides the rides, and food is a really big part of the Disney parks. So are drinks. And so I think that this was a really cool episode to do. I knew I was going to lose it, but I think it's an important one. And I think it's something you might see us go to Walt Disney World with at some point, as there's a whole litany of drinks out there in Walt Disney World. We probably both need to do a little bit more field work to prepare for that one. But I think we could do another one out there too. So drinks are a big deal for Disney parks.
Yeah, I need to go on a reconnaissance mission down there just to go, like you say, try out the landscape. You know, it's funny. I was actually talking to my mom the other night, and she always asks me every time I plan a trip to go out there, why do you always want to just go to Disney World? And I said, look, honestly, you could go down there and just kind of resort hop. You don't even have to go into the parks because of all of the food and beverage locations and, you know, the restaurants, table service restaurants, quick serve, everything outside of the parks. It's great to just kind of go on a food vacation. So I think I need to do that. And I should mention, glad you're back home safe. I know you just took a trip out there yourself.
Do you know how hard it is? The fact that I woke up this morning in Walt Disney World and I'm now not in Walt Disney World. It is the worst feeling in the world, but we had a great trip. And I will say this, because the episode's already in the past. Since you bring that up, Animal Kingdom Lodge should have been on my list last week. That's all I'm going to say. It should have been on my list.
And it should have been on my list also, but neither one of us have been there yet. So now it's eligible for you. I got to get out there to be able to pick it in future shows.
Heck yes. But anyway, so there's your random thought of the moment.
We're back to even, like I said, and I guess we start from scratch next week. Do we get a little teaser from you, or how's that going to work?
We do get a little teaser, but this is actually a topic that I have not finalized yet. So usually I've got them all kind of set and ready, so I will not go too in depth, but I will say we are staying on the best coast, the West Coast, staying at the Disneyland Resort. For next week's episode, we've got an exciting special guest that's ready to join us, as we do every single week. So until then, head over to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, follow Drafting the Magic on all of those different platforms at Drafting Magic or at Drafting the Magic, and also subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and wherever you can listen to podcasts, because Eric and I are having a real fun time doing this, right, EP?
Oh, this is a blast. Probably the most fun thing I've done, especially Disney related, in quite some time. And don't forget, when you go on to Apple Podcasts or any of those platforms, not only do we want you to subscribe, but go ahead and rate and review how we're doing. Let us know if we're awful, or let us know if you love it. But either way, we want to make it better for you, and we hope you're enjoying it and this mess of a time we're going through right now. And can't wait to get back at it next week.
Yep, I'm coming after you, Eric. I'm sick of losing. I'm ready for another W next week.
It's amazing how this is just going back and forth in even numbers. I'm coming back to jump back on top next week. Here we go. I'm coming for that lead again.
Let's go.